My family and I recently rewatched a cartoon series that, when we first saw it 10 years ago, were totally caught off guard by how refreshingly fun and entertaining it was. A big draw are the likable characters and the wonderful dialogue.
Goodbye, Gregory. And please don't call me old lady.
Yes, sir, young man. Now where did that frog named Kitty go? Look! I tripped on my own candy trail.
Greg, you need to stop acting ridiculous all the time.
Huh?
The main characters, like I said, are very likable, and any of them would make fun subjects to sculpt. But another character caught my attention. More mysterious, more unusual. And listen to this voice.
Now let's see here, boys. How do you end up in this little town of ours?
This is a character called Enoch, who, here's you some fun trivia, is voiced by Chris Isaacs. You've probably at least heard Wicked Game on the radio. He's also done some work with David Lynch in the past. So I pulled up some information online about Enoch and got a little sketch there. Pretty neat. I think that's the original concept. And speaking of, I find it valuable, although I'm not a great sketchist. I do find it helpful to let's at least get a thumbnail or for the gesture, kind of get the form and the overall silhouette and expression that we're going for. Because we are going to build a scene around this character, and it's going to matter how the character is posed. How about that right there? Let's start with some aluminum foil and a stick. This right here is going to not only save on the clay, but it's going to give our clay a foundation or a structure to build onto. And a simple little base right there. Now, we're going to change this out later, but it works for now. And I felt like it matched the theme. All right, now to rough out the head, all we're going to do is ball up some foil. Keeping it simple here on Steady Crafting, y'all. But watch this right here. This right here is not simple. Look what this craftsman is about to show you. I'm doing this for y'all now. Watch. Oh, check that out. Now we've got us an armature. And, excuse me, I got the decaffeinator. Oh. And we're using Cernet translucent polymer clay. Cernet polymer clay is fairly sticky. I find I have to mostly influence or dent the clay, establish a line or detail, then use a fine ball tool to emphasize that detail. I'm sort of bothered about the teeth because I want the teeth to be right. The teeth are important to this character. I decided to lay them out separately and partially bake them. But here's my concern. I don't think that I can get them to end up as straight and uniform as I want. And usually I don't go for uniformity, but the symmetry and uniformity actually adds to the unusual nature of the character. Can we trust this character? I don't know. The teeth are straight, but you just don't know. Excuse me. Ultimately, we backed out the teeth, and I said, let me just roll us up a little clay worm here and just carefully, because the head is not baked yet, I'm going to carefully lay this in here like a nice flat bed, and then we can take and indent our teeth details with wonderful cinematography. Look at this. But you can see what I'm doing, I think. And now I'm going to take a rigid clay shaper tool, and let's just indent something like that. I feel like that's better than what I could have done with the pre-baked teeth, but if you need your teeth together, I recommend that. There's the head sculpt so far, but look at this body. It needs curvature. So let's use some aluminum wire. And now let's kind of pose it into the pose. And now let's start building up the body. I'm not too happy with the body details as is, so let's use some green stuff. It takes a bit to mix it. It's very sticky. Look at this. So some petroleum jelly on the fingertips can make mixing a lot easier. A silicone mask gonna keep things from sticking to the workbench. Now, let's pinch us off a little piece and just take our time carefully rolling it, stretching it, rolling it. And now we're going to flatten it. Careful not to let our tool handle stick to the green stuff. Now we got us a little batch made up, and it's good timing because our polymer clay sculpt just finished baking. So let's start adding our strips, sticking them while the green stuff is still good and tacky. And we're just going to take our time laying them in, kind of following the contours and the details that we've already scraped in. And we want to just kind of tuck it in at the bottom and cut off any excess. There we go. All right, that's it so far. But we need some variations up in here, don't y'all think so? I'm gonna give me some pastel and scrape, 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 scrape. And that's going to give us a little bit of color variety to that green. And it's not going to look like it, all right, see, watch this right here. But if we compare it, see how much lighter that is? Yeah, that's what we want, is subtle variations. I just want y'all to know, despite whatever editing and end result I show you, I always face apprehension. And I second guess myself every step along the way. It's just like Alabama Shakes and them says, you got to hold on. Still on the fence about this, probably going to add some more strip details. But I've really been looking forward to building the base. And I just got a square scrap of wood right there. And thankfully I had some weather wood left from my miniature shop build. That's about 5 years ago. Any of y'all remember that? Anyway, I have diagonal scrapes in this to simulate circle sawn wood. Why? Because they wouldn't have used a bandsaw. Come on now. Anyway, and I find that for a barn wood floor, it kind of needs a good smooth sanding. Back in the day, they did it the easy way. They would just throw sand on the floor and invite people over for a barn dance. This is a true story. Now, I'm just goulashing some black on here to give me some, I want to have it be black on this base because when we put the planks on, we want the dark, so crevices and creases, for contrast. And the rest of the floor, we can build using animation. Now we got us a base with a hole. I'm mixing up a little epoxy scuff because we don't want our character to wobble. This will keep them secured to the base. Now, let's mix up some more green stuff. Add some color variety. And this time we want the hanging details to tie into the base. To sort of, lay across the floor, or maybe curl up a little bit here. Now I'm rolling out some arms, and I'm gonna add wire so that the arms are strong enough to hold the pose. Now time for the sloppiest paint job you've ever seen. A little black wash. A little sepia wash. A little dry brush. I felt like our scene would not be complete without some hay bales. But look at these. It's like sawdust glued to foam. To spruce up our hay bales, Dan does suggest that this trick. Cut up some twine, get some PVA glue, water down your PVA glue, and add the twine fibers. At first I wasn't sure how to apply this, but then I started doing a pinch and pull technique right there. Now I'm taking a thin piece of twine and I'm gonna darken it for some contrast. Now I feel like that right there will help sell the look of hay bales. And we just gonna glue it. Simple as that. There we go. Now we gotta trim those, but anyway, before actually gluing things down, I like to arrange it dry just to see how it flows. And for a bit of extra scene detail, Craft Son sculpted me a pumpkin. Thank you, buddy. And a piece of the resistance. And here's the final result.
You come to our town, you trample our crops, you interrupt our private engagement. Now you want to leave. They sentence you to a few hours of manual labor.
Thank you for taking time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, I just straight up, just outright, I don't normally do this, but please subscribe. I mean, that's pretty cool. Thank you to my friend Nathan for that right there. If you like these type videos, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Craftman puts a lot of work into the videos. I like to give a custom experience, a custom edit. I do the music, and I try to make a quality experience. So thank you. Thank you for letting me live my dream, huh? Yeah. Until next time, I love y'all. And keep on steady crafting. All right.